reasons.
Let's talk about Roald Dahl. There's been a good deal of outrage over a decision to change hundreds of words in Roald Dahl's children's books. The Daily Telegraph revealed on Friday that in new editions of Dahl's beloved stories, Augustus Gloop is enormous, not fat. Mrs. Twit is beastly, not ugly. And the Oompa Loompas are gender neutral. The one that wound me and Asma up the most, really, this was... really shocked me, but this is from The Witches. This is the original. Don't be foolish, my grandmother said. You can't go around pulling the hair of every lady you meet, even if she's wearing gloves. Just you try it and see what happens. That's pretty innocuous. It's now, don't be foolish, my grandmother said. Besides, there are plenty of other reasons why women might wear wigs, and there is certainly nothing wrong with that. Now,
man.
You guys both know that we're not the sort of anti-woke warriors on this programme, but Sarah, this does feel like it's ridiculous to no good end whatsoever. Maybe we're missing something.
No, I don't think you're missing anything at all. It's incredibly clumsily and crassly done. So I like Roald Dahl very much, read Roald Dahl to my own children. It would also say that, like some of the nastiness in Roald Dahl genuinely like haunted me through my life. And there's a particular description of Matilda's mother as one of those unfortunate women who seem as though their flesh has been strapped on, which sort of stayed with me, like graven into my brain all through my sort of adolescent body issues. So, I'm not here to say that Roald Dahl is harmless, but he's not supposed to be harmless. He's a malicious, unpleasant author. And there may very well be a good case for taking he was a racist as well. So there's a good case for taking the edge off some of the worst of it. But this has been so horrifically clumsily done, just like no art, no care, no thought at all, just a sort of a rampage of idiot corrections being taken through it. And I have to say, it's not just Puffin and Penguin and children's literature that you find this in. So I was at a launch for a reprint of a 1950s novel recently, where the publisher was just talking quite airily about having removed some quite egregious anti-Semitism from the text. And I just thought, but why? It's grown-ups reading this. If you want to, add context, put a footnote, say, look how racist this is, then go ahead. But this idea that even for adult readers, we have to rearrange the past to make it match the present, seems to be treating people like idiots, and it's very unhealthy.
Trevor, almost anything written in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, particularly the 1930s, often carries with it racism, carries with it anti-Semitism. That's just the nature of reading literature from the time. Can we not trust even children, do you think, to understand that the world is often a gnarly and ugly and unacceptable place, and so therefore books are as well? Is that not quite a good lesson in life, perhaps?
Of course, but you're assuming, Stig, this has anything to do with children. There's nothing to do with children, except the children who work in publishing houses, who want to tell everybody how lovely and compassionate they are. I can tell you, this year's 75th anniversary of Windrush, my brother and I have kindly been asked by our publishers to update the book and put it out, and they'll put it out later on this year. I can tell you that the question has been raised about whether, this is a book about the Windrush voyagers, whether the word black is appropriate in certain circumstances.
For example, where? I don't understand.
I'm not going there.
Okay.
Happily, HarperCollins, who are real grown-ups, have basically said, get a life. So this is not really about children. There's a lot of history. By the way, Bowdlerization
well done.
relates to relates to a rather worthy effort to bring Shakespeare to children in a simpler form, rather like Lamb's Tales and so on. So there's nothing wrong about thinking about, how an audience will receive something. But this is not really being done for that purpose. What I'm most outraged about, and frankly, you wound me up, so just tell me when to stop. What I'm most outraged about, I heard another children's author this morning say on another network that, this is all old-fashioned. Maybe we just let it fade away because nobody's interested. We should be.
Oh, well, can we just say that's Philip Pullman? Can we just call him out? Because I heard that too. And I thought,
children should be encouraged to read better authors. I don't really like Roald Dahl. It's too rough for me. But the man is a great author. And it's like saying Dickens who has disabled characters in every single book. And some of the references would be not what we say today. Oh, let's cancel Dickens. Ditto, Richard Crompton and William. Ditto, Enid Blyton. The key point here, which everybody seems to have forgotten, is that books are for reading, and we should encourage children to read whatever they're reading. That's the most important thing. It just drives me mad.
Okay, stop.
I
think we could all agree. I think this is such a
By the way,
Go on.
I'm thinking
another thing
of doing Puffin under the Trades Description Act, because this clearly is no longer being authored by Roald Dahl.
No,
they're selling a fake.
Yeah, exactly. And also, what's his estate doing agreeing to this as well? There's all sorts of questions that get raised by this, but it's facile and nonsensical, and I think you've both been brilliant on that. I'm glad we didn't get Philip Pullman on to argue the contrary. But I mean, if people want to argue the contrary, then do let us know. I mean, you can maybe make an argument that things should be tidied up and cleaned up, but maybe literature isn't about being tidy and clean when you get right down to it. Trevor Philips and Sarah Dyson, a pleasure as always to speak to you. That was really, really good stuff.